Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my to-be-read list for both booktube-a-thon and the NEWTs readathon, which is also known as the magical readathon. I'm going to start with the booktube-a-thon TBR list, simply because it's currently booktube-a-thon. It is the third day, and I'm so late in uploading this video. The only reason I waited so long is because I was participating in the OWLs, which you need to read the OWLs in order to participate in the NEWTs. And the OWLs ended the second day of booktube-a-thon. I had wanted to make sure that I had completed as many challenges as I could for that readathon first. Alright, so let's get into the booktube-a-thon TBR. There are 7 challenges. I don't have the dates written down in front of me, so I'll just leave it right here. I believe it ends this Friday or Saturday. I want to say it's Friday. Every year for booktube-a-thon, there are 7 challenges. This year's challenges are: let a coin toss decide what you're going to read first, read a book about something you want to do, read and watch a book to movie adaptation, read a book with green on the cover, read a book while wearing a hat the whole time, read a book with a beautiful spine, and as always, read 7 books in the week. Because it is already halfway through the booktube-a-thon, I've already started my TBR, and I've actually already completed 2 of these challenges. For the first challenge, do a coin toss to figure out what you're going to read first. It was between Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban and Cat versus Human. Like I said, I was participating in OWLs. I was trying to complete the Divination Challenge and the Transfiguration Challenge. I had 2 separate books for these challenges, but I wasn't going to finish them in time, and I wanted to read something that could also count towards the booktube-a-thon readathon. So I had chose Cat vs. Human for the Transfiguration Challenge instead of what I originally had. I want to say it was Brilliant Death, and then I decided to read this super fast for the Divination Challenge. I had currently reading Red Sister. I wanted to use that for the challenge, but I wasn't going to finish it in time. And I knew this would be a super fast read, especially since, I've read it before and I know the story very well. I had flipped a coin and this had won the coin toss, so I read this first. Not only did this cover the Divination Challenge, but this also covered the book to movie adaptation. So with these 2 books, I already completed challenges 1 and 3 for booktube-a-thon. So the second challenge is to read about something you'd want to do, and I had chosen The Con Artist by Fred Van Lente. I've always wanted to go to San Diego Comic-Con, VidCon, all those cons out west. That doesn't seem to be possible, at least not until I move out west. And this actually is about a murder mystery that happens at San Diego Comic-Con. The 4th challenge, read a book with green on the cover. And for that challenge, I picked out Friends with Boys by Faith Erin Hicks. I loved Superhero Girl, the title is The Adventures of Superhero Girl. Faith Erin Hicks wrote that, and I freaking love that book. And I've been meaning to read this. But as you can see, it's very green. Now the 5th challenge, read a book while wearing a hat. I actually had to struggle with hat I wanted to wear. It was between either this one, a Hogwarts crest hat, which I got as a gift from one of my best friends, and the other hat is Books Before Bros, which is a hat I got at Book Expo and BookCon. I was torn between this because I was like, you know what, this should actually, be for school pride since I'm doing the NEWTs, but I think this one's more appropriate for booktube-a-thon, especially since I got it from Book Expo and BookCon. Obviously the saying is just perfect for booktube-a-thon. I'm not going to wear it right now because I'm actually trying to set my hair. I just showered and I have it clipped back, and hopefully as it dries, my hair will dry very wavy. I also have 5 products in my hair. I'm trying to combat the humidity that's outside, and I'm not about to mess up with what I have going on with a hat. That's the hat I decided to wear, long story short. And as I'm wearing this, I'll be reading City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab. I got this at, I want to say Book Expo, could have been BookCon. Which is actually perfect timing because this book is actually supposed to be published August 28th, 2018, so very soon. Challenge number 6, read a book with a beautiful spine. And for that, I chose Iron Cast by Destiny Soria. I actually got this, I forget which year, but I got it when I went to the Boston Teen Author Festival. And if you look over the side, the spine is just as pretty as the cover. I love the black and gold color combination. I love the font. I'm going to have to do an inlay for this spine, but it's just very pretty. And the last challenge, read 7 books. I have a lot of books to read this month. I'm not entirely sure what book I'm actually going to use this challenge for, but I've decided on this one for now. And it is An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. This is the ARC that I got not this year, but at last year's BookCon. I also got the audiobook for this from my library. The main goal with actually completing all these readathons is to start reading all the books I own. And this is an ARC that I've had for a while, so I would like to read it this month. I've had it for so long that the book is already published. It's published in September 2017. Almost a full year at this point. So that is everything that I'm reading for Booktube-a-thon. Let me know in the comments if you're participating, whether if it's just reading or the video challenges or the Instagram challenges. I'm going to try to post a few of the Instagram challenges. I don't see me actually doing any of the video challenges this year. Last year, I think I did every single one because I wanted to focus on that, but I just don't have the time to do the video challenges this year. Working full time, editing the videos take a while, and I'm planning my wedding, so I just don't have the time for the video challenges. But let me know if you're completing them. I would love to see them. Now we're going to get into the next part of the video, where I talk about my to-be-read list for the NEWTs Readathon. If you're not aware what the NEWTs are the 7th year exams that Harry and his friends take. The OWLs were short for ordinary wizarding levels. The NEWTs are short for nastily exhausting wizarding tests. They're not actually required to graduate. They are just helpful if you want to get into a specific career path. I want to talk more about the books that I actually read for this readathon in my July wrap-up when I finally get around to filming it. I was able to complete the Ancient Runes Challenge, Divination, Herbology, History of Magic, Muggle Studies, Potions, and Transfiguration. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I got 7 owls. I basically got an outstanding for that readathon. The highest grade you can get. I'm really proud of myself. Now the NEWTs are harder, whereas the owls you just needed to read and finish 1 book to actually get a passing grade in that challenge. There are actually 3 books per subject for the NEWTs. It's very true to its title, nastily exhausting. I'm obviously not going to read all of these, it's just physically impossible. So for the Ancient Runes Challenge, just to get an acceptable, I have to read a book set in the past, which is a book I've already talked about. It's Ironcast by Destiny Soria. This takes place in 1919 Massachusetts. I want to say this takes place in Boston. Yes, it takes place in Boston. It's a fantasy historical fiction. I've been meaning to read this. I'm very excited to read this, especially because of where it's set. So I read and finish this, I will get an acceptable for Ancient Runes. Now, in order to actually get an outstanding, it's like tiers. I have to read and finish this before I can make it on to the Exceeds Expectations challenge for this, which is read one of the most ancient books on your shelves that you haven't read, and that is The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. I got this from one of the first bookish events I went to when I first started my channel. I want to say it was the 2nd year of me doing my channel. So I've had this book for a while. I've had this book for at least 3 years. And so it's one of the more ancient books on my bookshelf. And it's perfect timing because I want to say the movie's coming out very soon. And to get an outstanding, once I read these, I will read a book translated from another language, which is A Man Called Ove by Frederick Bachman. This was originally in Swedish. I almost read this from my book to movie adaptation for Booktube-a-thon because there is actually a movie based off this book. Now the next subject, divination. To get an acceptable, I need to read a book set in the future. And for that, I chose A Study in Honor by Claire Odell. I got this from BookCon. This is a Sherlock Holmes retelling. It's set in the future, and our main characters are Black lesbians. I want to say they're Black lesbians. I know they're part of the LGBTQA community. To get an E in the subject, I have to read a book under 200 pages, and for that, I chose Love That Dog. Here it is. It's Love That Dog by Sharon Creech. It's actually a book of poetry. You can't really see the cover because my light's kind of harsh, but this was a gift from a coworker of mine. As you can see, it's very short, and this will be a quick, easy read. And to get an O in this subject, after I read those books, I have to read a mythology book, and for that I chose The Storm Runner by J.C. Cervantes. It is a Rick Riordan Presents book, and it follows kind of like, it doesn't follow Percy Jackson, but it's kind of like the same concept. And for herbology, to get an A, I need to read a book with a green cover. I'm not reading Friends with Boys for that one. Instead, I am reading Forest of a Thousand Lanterns by Julie C. Dow. I had hoped to read this for the Owls, so this is just another chance to try to read this book. This is a Snow White retelling set in an Asian setting, and I want to read this because if you can't tell, you probably can't because you can't see it. I freaking love Snow White. She's one of my favorite princesses, so I would very much like to read this. To get an exceeds expectations, I need to read a book with illustrations. And for that, I chose Monstrous by Marjorie Liu. This is Volume 1, Awakening. I got this from BookNet Fest, and I'm so sad I won't be going this year. But BookNet Fest is a week before my wedding, and I just can't. This is a graphic novel. I tried reading this, and I just had to put it down to read something else. I just wasn't in the mood for it, and I didn't want that to actually color my view of this. I heard it's very good, and I didn't want my lack of interest to affect my reading of it. So I'm going to try to read this now. And to get an O in the subject, read a book with either one of these words in the title: light, air, sun, or Warner. And for that, I chose A Spark of Light by Jodi Picoult. I am so excited to read this. This is actually one of my more anticipated reads of the year. It comes out in October, and I'm kind of bummed that I have to read 2 other books first before I get to read this. I'm not really going into the storyline of each book because otherwise this would be a massive video, and I just don't want to have to edit that later. If I actually get to these books during the month, I'll tell you all about it in my reading wrap-up. The next subject is History of Magic. To get an A, I would have to read a book that I think would fit right in at the Hogwarts library. And for that, I chose An Enchantment of Ravens. I figured any fantasy book would really fit because people at Hogwarts would read it and think it was a true story rather than a fantasy book. So I chose a fantasy book kind of at random for this one. And since I was pretty much already reading this for booktube-a-thon, I was like, I guess I'm reading it for this too. To get an E in the subject, I need to read a book published at least 5 years ago. And for that, I chose Let's Pretend This Never Happened, a mostly true memoir. This came out in 2012, so it's been at least 5 years. This was a gift from one of my booktube friends, Alex, over at The Reading Puppet. I've read the first book. Was it the first book? But it's Furiously Happy by the same author, Jenny Lawson, and I thought it was so funny. So I'm really excited to read this. And to get an O in this subject, I need to read a book that's at least 400 pages long. And again, we are picking a book that I meant to read for owls, and that is A Secret History of Witches by Louisa Morgan. Again, this would be a good time to read it since it comes out in September. The next subject is Muggle Studies. To get an A in this subject, I need to read a book by one of my favorite authors, and I am reading Friends with Boys by Faith Erin Hicks. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I freaking love Adventures of Superhero Girl. That's actually one of my favorite books. I'm just so excited to read this. I hope I love this just as much as The Adventures of Superhero Girl. To get an E in the subject, I need to read a biography. And I chose another graphic novel for this. I chose The Three Escapes of Hannah Arendt. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but the subtitle is A Tyranny of Truth. This is a graphic novel biography. Yes, this is a graphic novel biography, and I grabbed this at BookCon. I thought the concept was really cool. I loved Can We Talk About Something More Pleasant, which is a graphic novel biography, and since I really enjoyed that, I wanted to try this. And to get an O in this subject, I need to read a retelling, and for that, I'm reading Geekerella by Ashley Poston, if I'm actually pronouncing that right. I don't know if I am. But this is a Cinderella retelling. The next subject is potions. To get an A in this subject, I need to read a book that has the color in the title. And for that, I chose Black Wings Beating. I didn't get this at this year's BookCon. I got it last year's BookCon, I think. No, this year's. I got it this year's because it comes out in October 2018. This is a fantasy book, and that's pretty much all I know about it. To get an E in this subject, I need to read a book with a male lead character. And I'm reading something that I recently grabbed. I went to this book event. This is a podcast that my fiance truly loves, and I started getting into it, and I'm enjoying it so far. It is The Adventure Zone by Clint McElroy, Griffin McElroy, Justin McElroy, Travis McElroy, and Carrie Piesch. All the McElroys are the ones that actually do this podcast, and it's a Dungeons and Dragons podcast, and these are their characters, and they've placed their characters in this graphic novel world. And at the event, they made sure to say, hey, you can read this without being huge fans of the podcast. So if you're super behind, that's not going to hurt you in reading this. And Carrie Piesch is the illustrator of this. So we don't just have one male lead, we have 4. I want you to do 3, and that is not right. It is 4. And to get an O in the subject, which I don't think I'm making it towards this book. I'd like to, but I just don't see it happening. To get an O in this subject, you have to read a book that's over 350 pages long. And I chose Poirot and Me by David Suchet. I'm a huge fan of the show. David Suchet is my Poirot. I know there's other actors that played Poirot, but he's my Poirot. I don't really care for the other actors' versions. I love his. I freaking love his. But I've had this for a while. I want to read it. I just don't think I'm going to get to this. And the last subject, Transfiguration. So I read Cat vs. Human super last minute because in my heart of hearts, I felt like I needed to get Transfiguration. Gryffindor is my house. McGonagall is my favorite professor, and I feel like I would have disappointed her had I not gotten her owl, so I made sure to get her this owl. So I'm probably going to focus more on this subject than any other subject. To get an A in this subject, I need to read a book with a gray cover, and for that I chose City of Boats. That is not about boats. And for that I chose City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab. This actually takes place in Edinburgh, and it's sort of gray. Mostly gray. But I definitely will be reading it this month. This book has been one of my anticipated reads of the year. So I am reading this month. And to get an E in the subject, I need to read a book from an author I haven't read anything before. And for that, I did choose The Con Artist, which I will be reading for booktube-a-thon. And the last book, read a book that is set in a kingdom or has royals, which will count towards getting an O for the course. And for that, I chose A Curse So Dark and Lonely. When I first hauled this book, all I knew about this was the back. Fall in love, break the curse, save the kingdom. So there's a kingdom in this book. And after watching a recent Tashopolis video, I found out this is actually a Beauty and the Beast retelling. So I'm more excited to read this now, knowing that it's a Beauty and Beast retelling, because I love retellings. So we're going to move a little off to the side, and that is everything that I'm reading for the month of August. No, besides these 2 books that I've already read. My goal is to try to read as many of these as I can in August. It's not like I have a wedding to plan or anything. Like I said, it's just impossible. I'm not reading all these in August. It'd be fun to. I'd be really proud of myself if I could, but it's unlikely. In order to pass, I need to pass at least 2 subjects and achieve an outstanding in at least 1. So I need to read at least 4 books, get an A in one subject and an O in another. So I'll be focusing on Transfiguration. I'll definitely be getting an A in Muggle Studies, an A in History of Magic, an A in Ancient Runes. And that's if I complete all of the challenges I want to do for booktube-a-thon. Plenty of options to try to get that passing score. So that's all I'm going to be talking about for this video. I talked about a crap ton of books. What about you? Are you participating in either of the readathons? I know I've already asked about booktube-a-thon, but are you participating in NEWTs? I know a lot of people are, and I'm actually really excited for this readathon. Let me know what you're reading down in the comments below, and as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I guess it's ta-ta for now. Bye, guys.